Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified, meant for apes. Hitler faked his death and then escaped. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking about dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
All right, everybody, take your seats, okay? Welcome, everybody, to ABAA, Abducted by Aliens Anonymous. We're going to go around the circle, and we're going to have everybody express themselves in their experience. First up, we got Jed. Hello, I'm Jed.
Hi, Jed.
Hi, Jed. Well, I think that I was abducted by aliens. I'm not quite sure. All my cows have been disappearing off my farm. I only got old Betsy left, and she just keeps me company after I killed my wife. I really don't have any people out here anymore but me and my cows and my one sheep that I like to get frisky with, only on Friday nights, though. And the one night, I was out there looking for Betsy. I couldn't see anything. It was misty and cloudy, and I had no idea what was going on. And I started hearing this buzzing sound. I thought it was the buzzards picking apart my wife's corpse in the back, but I think it was an alien spaceship, because all I remember is being surrounded by beautiful light. Oh, such beautiful light. But then I was naked, strapped down to a table, and there was this massive object that they shoved deep inside my asshole. I haven't walked straight for a week, but I thought it was just a dream, but coming here made me feel like maybe I was part of something bigger. Thanks, Jed. Thanks for your story. We appreciate your honesty about your wife. I think I'm going to have to make a police report after this. And who do we have next?
Is that me?
Yeah, Cletus is your name, right?
Yeah, everybody. My name's Cletus. So once upon a starry night, I found myself in a peculiar predicament. As I strolled through my backyard, I was suddenly enveloped into a beam of light from above. Aliens had mistaken me for the headliner of Earth's comedy tour. Picture this, I'm aboard their shiny spacecraft, surrounded by little green beings with 6 eyes each, and they're all expecting a good laugh. Turns out my human sense of humor doesn't quite translate to the intergalactic stage. As I attempted to crack a joke about cows and crop circles, they just stared at me with confusion. Awkward, right? It seems take me to your leader jokes aren't so funny in the cosmic comedy scene. In a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, I launched into an interpretive dance routine inspired by greatest hits from the 80s. Little did I know, alien dance moves involve a lot more tentacles. Long story short, my unintended interstellar comedy debut ended with the aliens scratching their heads, and as they dropped me back in my backyard, I couldn't help but wonder if they were returning me because they found my earthling jokes truly out of this world. And so, I resumed my evening stroll, forever grateful for the cosmic chuckle and the realization that my humor truly left me in this universal language, just not always the way we expect.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I like you.
That's actually really good. I enjoyed that. All right, everybody, start with a little improv. Let's bring it in, everybody. I'm trying to be peppy as I can because I've been fucking sick. Goddamn super spreaders. So I am Tomcat, aka Tom Thompson, the Raptilian, so I can't even speak properly anymore. I sent Jed back to his farm. I'm here with fucking alien.
Sorry,
boy.
I'm also choking. You know what I was trying to channel there? I was like, how can I...
You actually did a fairly good job. You did a spot on
like
like
how
American
can I change
accent.
the accent a bit? And do you know what I was thinking of? Do you remember Will Smith movie? Is it Wild Wild West?
Yeah, wow.
Remember that fucking the bad guy in that, like Dr. Loveless or whatever they called him? That's what I kept thinking of in my head. The guy in the wheelchair thing or with the spider legs or whatever it was.
Yeah. That's funny. It makes sense. I can definitely tell. Welcome everybody back to the show. This is going to be pretty exciting. We're going to be diving into alien abductions, just the whole idea and the premise of it. If you're a lifelong hose head, you'll remember the episode that me and Billy did way back in the day. It's probably like the 6th, 7th episode we did, which is wild. And that's now on Patreon, where we kind of went through the idea of alien abductions. I kind of want to bring it back because I like covering certain things before we really dive in to some of the aspects of alien abductions. We're going to be deep diving into stories of alien abductions like Travis Walton, amongst many others, Bob Hopkins, I think at some point. So I kind of wanted to talk about the over-encompassing idea of alien abductions. And I know that me and Aaron on a previous episode talked about it. And I said, we'll save it until the alien abduction episode. So this should be a fun time. We're getting ready. So everybody lube up your butts. Lube them up. Because you're going to get inserted with the probe. We'll even get into what probes, what are they all about? What are they for? What do they do? You know?
So do you guys just not do the anal probe anymore? Is that?
Nah, that's more or less been retired.
I see.
That's funny. I also had that one.
I'm gonna rip your eye out and piss on your brain, you alien dirtbag.
I'll eat your ass. I will.
I'll do it.
That's my favorite.
So what do you, so let's just, I don't know if we should bring it off the top of the hop, but like, when was the first the idea you've heard about like alien abductions? Was it, I'm sure through like cinema, movies?
Yeah, probably. I would say actually as a kid, things like Close Encounters and E.T. and stuff kind of freaked me out at certain parts. Not like the entire thing, but there's certain scenes from those movies I remember being freaked out by.
Yeah, E.T. is a big one that a lot of kids would have seen.
The scene where they, I think, is it like the government or whatever come to take E.T. out of the house, and like the whole house is like tubed off, and like they have all this weird like shit, like tunnel ways and stuff. I remember as a kid, like super young, the idea of that like freaking me out, and like how like chaotic and everything it all seemed. And probably the biggest one for me though that like really scared me was Fire in the Sky.
See, and the thing is, I've never seen that, and I've been waiting to watch it for the Travis Walton episode. But if we wanted to throw it together a bit and branch, put that tree trunk down across the river again, we probably could cover that movie for your show.
I'd love to do that. I think that's good.
Because I've never seen it, so I'll go in balls deep and write all my thoughts down. And that's the great aspect of me and Aaron being connected on two shows is we can kind of, branch it out and do a lot of different stuff on both of our ends. So obviously go subscribe to Class Horrorcast, but let's bring it in. Aliens are supposed to clean the minds of their victims. What actually happens during an abduction is only revealed through maybe some regressive hypnotherapy or, piecing together known facts. Generally, the abductor feels compelled or forced to go into an alien spacecraft where they encounter the visitors. These are often described as being small, gray figures with big black eyes and hairless bodies. They are frequently reported as having large skulls, and they communicate with their human captives using telepathy. The message sent to the man or woman tells them not to be scared. They will not be harmed. You will not be harmed. I don't know why they're always going with some accent. You will not be harmed, okay? The candidate is scanned or examined and then placed on an operating table. This part of the abduction is often a blur, even through, hypnosis. But it seems that the aliens perform a series of tests, and a reoccurring theme is that they do extensive sexual experiments on their subjects. The abductees' bodies is prodded, probed, and manipulated. Some even report having tracking devices or other equipment implanted under their skin. And if you go back you can check out me and Billy's episode about the sexual encounters with aliens. It is a fun time. A lot of women out there claim to have been fucked by aliens. At some point, I think we're going to dive deeper into actually certain people's stories and do a deep dive. I know there's one specific guy that I want to talk about, and he would paint his experiences.
You know what I would love to do at some point, and I don't know if it's like logistically possible. I would love to have some kind of like call-in thing or something, or have like, I don't know, a way for people to like come in and give us their like experiences.
Yeah. At some point, we'll do that for everybody listening, especially for people that are on the Patreon. You'll get first dibs to call in. There's a way to do it. I can set up a fake number, essentially, and then put it on the roadcast so you guys could call in. There's definitely a way to do it. We just haven't actually put it together yet, but I don't think it would take much. But I do want to start doing that, or if people want to record, especially people on Patreon, if you want to record your own experiences and then you can even send them to me and we can play them on the show, we can also do it that way. So if you do have a paranormal, conspiracy, paranormal, like alien story, UFO, any of that kind of fun jive, you know, like some ghost encounter, alien encounter, UFO encounter, seeing stuff, whatever it might be, shoot me a message at strangereviewpodcast at gmail.com or reach out on me on the Instagram.
We have to come up with like a funny little like tagline or whatever for that section of a show or whatever if we're doing it. Like I have a friend who lives in this town. He has a podcast all about cryptids called Monster Fuzz Podcast. And they have like a section where people send in, you know, they say they've seen something or they've seen the Loch Ness Monster or whatever shit it might be. Some of them you can tell are just complete satire, like people are just having fun with it. And then other people are like dead serious and they called their little like 20-minute segment of the show sighting or shiting. Is like, so we need to come up with something funny like that.
Yeah. I'll think of something better. So the
Tom Cocksucker
is... Yep. The human is returned to wherever, they were picked up, often remembering absolutely nothing, in a state of perplexity. It's like, I don't know what happened. Jesus Christ. I don't know. Most people have no idea what happened, and they have no clue what happened at all. They're just kind of left there, and they kind of have somewhat of memory of what happened. But mostly in most cases, they don't remember. Like they're missing time. We're gonna go through later on the show. If you were abducted by aliens, what are the signs you should look for?
That Irish fucking gingerbread fisherman looking motherfucker.
That's the first sign. That's a clue.
Yep. A lot of people are bruised all over their body. They suffer painful headaches the next morning. Abductees often have terrible nosebleeds, bizarre but small puncture wounds at the points on their skin. They also have said to pass strange urine the next morning. That's just because you drank way too much and then you had sex with a AIDS-infested prostitute. So then your fucking piss is going like two directions. I've definitely done that after sex. Piss. Ew, never done that, no. But after sex, I've definitely like where I'm like drunk and I piss in like two directions. I have two dicks. I'm an alien.
That explains it. Tom Two Dicks Thompson.
Wouldn't any chick, no chick would love that? Come on.
You know, there used
one
to be
in
a
the
guy,
pink, one in the pink, one in the stink.
Because that little thing. So Tom put me on the spot. I didn't know we were going to do like some sort of weird skit at the start. And I was trying to so there was a story years ago in school that I went to. There was actually two stories. There was a story about one guy and everybody used to call him No Nipples because he used to say he cut his nipples off with a Crayola, like kids' scissors, and then ran around the classroom with them like in his hands, even though it never happened. And then there was another guy who was found out, like had some issue, I'm assuming when he was a kid, and had to have one of his testicles taken out. And like everybody made this like story about like, oh, he got abducted by aliens and they took his ball and like everyone called him Tony One Ball. And it was like this, and like as a kid, like now when I say it, it doesn't sound that funny, but I remember being a kid and the idea of being like, haha, Tony One Ball was like the funniest shit in the world. And being like, you know, like dudes would like draw aliens like holding a ball and stuff and be like,
so weird.
But if I had more time, I was actually planning on like making the story around the idea of the aliens abducting me and taking one ball.
Well, we can always do that. We have ideas for creating skits and actually filming stuff one day. So maybe we'll just make a whole skit
about Tony One Ball
around the idea of Tony One Ball, you know? So, quite strange though, you know, female abduction victims are usually prone to suffering sexual pains. And I don't know what the fuck that means. Like the vagina hurts, I'm guessing. Like they got plowed by like 4 black dudes in the night.
So do aliens have hogs on them then? Or, because like most aliens I ever, like, well, I've never actually seen an alien, but like obviously this cool dude here to my left or right or whatever side he is, that's what we always see is that shit there, that like mound.
Well, that's the typical grays that have went so far with evolution. There's the 2 theories, right? They went so far with evolution that they had no need for sexual reproduction because sexual reproduction was the idea of like mating, but also you get sexual pleasure from it. And they kind of didn't need that anymore because they can make test tube babies. So they driven themselves so far away from natural birthing processes that now supposedly they abduct us to figure out, you know, well, we're going to get to it, but to figure out if they can ever get back to that. And that's why they create hybrids. Or there's the idea that they're genetically made robots that the reptilians created, or the Greys are actually the reptilians' minions that are also reptile. This is supposed to be what David Icke says when he had this conversation with Cueto Mutbar, is the African Zulu historian, is that they supposed to had a crash ship, okay, right? And there was an alien. They found the body of an alien. It looked like a gray alien, and they were like trying to get like autopsy it, right? Like primitive autopsy, where they're trying to like literally like smash it with rocks and shit to see what would happen. And if you can imagine that, like cavemen. But no, they're actually pretty intelligent. And they had to get like the sharpest axe that they could find to split the skin, but it wasn't a skin at all. It was actually a suit, and then they took off like the helmet and all that shit, and it looks like a gray alien, but underneath that, it was like a reptilian creature.
Huh. I thought you were going to go down some other avenue there of explaining.
What the fuck?
When you said about, oh, you know, they abduct us to like figure out how they can get back to that. I thought we were going to have another sexy episode.
Oh, we'll get there at some point. I had to blank this out just in case.
Oh, his little mushroom.
That's pretty much what it is.
The idea of that,
I know,
is like
100%
horrific to me.
And especially that the idea that reptilians, if they are like 7, 8 foot, 10 feet tall, dude.
Why do we always got to be nude as well? That makes it even worse.
Because to them, we're just a bot, like a meat sack with. You know, that is like electricity plus meat.
Is there such a thing as gay aliens?
You know, I think they're all gay. They're that's why their species is almost. Just kidding. Like they went too far one way, but like think about it, the whole idea. No, I'm not gonna get into this. I was like. Because like, are they a smite against God, right? Because there's nothing like. Even my buddy at work, like, he's religious, and he's like, yeah, you can be gay, but you just can't practice gay things. You just can't practice being gay. But you can be gay, but you just can't do gay stuff. And I was like,
so what, like in my head,
interesting way to put it.
Ooh, yeah. So long as I don't act on it.
Can't do it. No, as long as you don't act on it, because then God will be like this upstairs. No.
So can I?
Can't do that.
So here's a loophole. Then can I jerk off to gay stuff in the privacy of my own home?
God doesn't even like that, remember?
So you can't jerk off either.
No. I don't know. It's just so funny when I'm not religious, but listening to this, I've been listening to that David Wilcock book, Awakening in the Dream. Who knows if any of it's real at all? But the message is cool there. It's all about the idea that he takes a lot of stuff from the Law of One, which I've read the first book. I'm on to the second one. At some point I'll start going through that one. And it's the idea that like that there is one being and an energy source, some sort of God, but it just could be energy that created us, like being that thought our reality into creation. And that he loves all of his creatures, including the gray aliens. Some guy that has it's like, what's that word I'm trying to think of? Channeling. He channels beings, and he channeled like some Jesus entity that looked like Jesus, but I don't think it was Jesus. It was the guy that like obviously that masqueraded as Jesus, maybe to convince this guy of stuff. Who knows? And he told him that like God loves all of his creatures, including the gray aliens. Because the guy was like, these things look frightening. Why are they being sent to Earth? Why are people seeing these creatures and being abducted by them? And the guy's like, but God loves all of his creatures, including the weird looking gray aliens. Who knows if that guy was fucking out of his tree? He probably was.
I hope you don't turn religious. I just can't get off that fact.
No, I'm never gonna. That's never gonna happen. I'm never gonna be religious. Even my wife is joking about it. She's like, "We're not fucking Christians." I'm like, I know. I'm never gonna be Christian, but I've always thought since I was a kid that it is quite possible that there could be some sort of energy source of where we come from. And why I like the law of one and why it makes sense to me is because it talks about how we're all one. We're all one. We're the universe experiencing itself, right? So if you hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself because we're all one. You get it?
Hurt people, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. The psychological results are often more extreme. Some people feel as they were like maybe loved the aliens. They love them, and they've been enriched by the contact. Right? These abductees believe the visitors have come to warn us and to help mankind to protect the planet. And that's why there's theories about the Greys, that the Greys are actually here to protect us, and they're actually trying to influence society so we don't end up like them. Because there's also a theory. Was on the Grey Alien episode. If you want to know more about the gray aliens, go listen to the episode about it. But like that they're us from the future, which is even scarier to me, in my opinion. I'd rather them be little robot creatures. But by these types of experiences are the minority. Many feel a sense of violation and despair, similar to rape victims. Often it is mixed with confusion, disbelief, and a sense of possible insanity. Many abduction victims need counseling to regain some sense of stability. In cases of extreme trauma, some may have known to commit suicide. Nevertheless, many researchers wonder if abduction memories are of themselves caused by psychological problems rather than the reverse.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the whole premise of abductions, and I guess not to put a dampener on the topic of the episode, because I so badly want them to be real. And like, it's weird, right? I'd sit here now and go, dude, I wish I could sit here and be like, I was abducted, Tom, and I came back and I had all these like vivid memories of being abducted. So long as it wasn't anything too freaky, or like I wasn't left with a big gaping asshole, or like they didn't like chop my dick off or something, or do some weird shit. But like, I don't know. I really don't know like where my stance is on the whole thing, because there's so much information now. I'm like, now I don't know like what to believe.
I mean, neither. I don't either, man. I'm like getting sucked into the flat earth shit recently. Nice. I've been watching a bunch of stuff, and it's just like, it is interesting, but then it's like, why are the pyramids? Then I had questions about like, why are the pyramids set up strategically under Orion's belt, which supposed to be Draco Secundus is where the reptilians are, right? Or is it just a projection of their reality? Who knows, whatever, right? But I want to do episodes specifically about like the black sun and all these different things to like question it, because we've talked about the universe and aliens, and now like, I'm not saying the earth is flat, but I'm saying I'm willing to hear somebody's argument. Like I'm debating on, David Weiss contacted me a long time ago about coming on the show to discuss flat earth. He's a famous flat earther guy. And I must have deleted his email for sure, because I can't find it. But I'm like actually curious of maybe having him on and be like, I'm curious, I have questions, explain to me, show me the proof, try to convince me. And I'll probably leave a flat earth. Just kidding. I will always question everything, but I'm more likely to believe that we live in a simulation. That even if it is flat, it doesn't fucking matter because we're probably in a simulated dome to begin with, and that nothing is as real as we think. It's just like alien abductions. You asked me one time, you're like, would you want to be abducted? And I was like, we'll save it for the alien abduction episode. Now we're here. It's like, when I was a kid, I used to stare up at the stars. I've told you this. And I used to smoke cigarettes and just like look up and be perplexed and see UFOs and weird things. I was balls deep into alien research, specifically alien stuff, especially when I was like 16, 17. And I always wanted to, and I always felt like something was talking to me. I don't know if it was my own head, but I felt like I could, if I asked a question, then someone would answer it. But it didn't seem like it was my subconscious. I had weird experiences when I was a teenager, and I don't know if it was my own subconscious making this shit up, like the Ouija board, or who knows. I have no idea. I won't know till I'm dead. But like I've always had the idea that I'm different. I came from somewhere else. I'm a soul from a different planet, something like that. From all the research I've done into alien abductions, it sounds fucking frightening. Like the most frightening traumatic experience that you would ever have. Like worse than being abducted by like some sort of like Ed Gein character, you know, or something like that, or like, you know, Richard Ramirez hiding in your closet. Like if you survive those events, I feel like they would be less traumatic than some of the stuff that aliens. But aliens usually leave you unscathed to an extent. There's bruises and stuff like that, but at least your like heart's not ripped out of your chest.
Yeah, you see,
or like
and like there's probably people that are going like, "What is wrong with the two of you? It's like you're mentally ill or something."
There's a lot.
But like,
there's a lot. Right?
I can see the argument for that. You know, at least I'm not saying at least because like there's so many people who were victims of people like that and deal with shit like that, and like you know, as your like average white men, we probably, touch wood, hopefully, will never have to experience like being abducted by some dude like that or whatever.
No.
You know, the chances are in our favor, but yeah, I definitely think that like if you were to escape a situation like that, I would probably have to be committed if I was abducted by aliens and survived.
Yeah, I know.
And was brought back or whatever. Whether I was like hurt or not hurt, I think I would have to probably be sectioned because. Could you imagine like trying to go back to a normal life? Imagine today, like you said, you went to the store to get like cans of soup. Imagine doing that after like a week ago. You've had like your asshole spread open by a bunch of aliens and like sticking tentacles in you and like taking blood samples and shit. And now you're like,
that's if you remember it. Like if you were like, it's the same idea. If you were like molested by like, let's just bring Richie back into this, Richard Ramirez and his gross breath, and you only have little memories and you can't really remember what happened. Like it wouldn't be as traumatizing if you vividly remember everything. So there's the idea that they cloud your brain enough where you don't remember it. But like and we're gonna get into this in a second, is the idea of Benny and Barney Hill. Betty and Barney Hill. I was going Benny because it's Benny and Barney. Betty. Barney and Betty Hill. It's a tongue twister. But how me and Billy covered it, we're just gonna mention it quickly. But like if you listen to the audio. When Barney, not the dinosaur, the black man that got abducted by aliens, he sounds fucking terrified, dude. Terrified. Like crying hysterically. Like I think we played it on the episode. So everyone that hasn't checked it out, Alex is on it. It's a fun episode way back in the day. Check it out. But the first time abductions entered the public consciousness was September 1961 when Barney and Betty Hill were reported captured by strange beings. The Hills gave an account under hypnosis a few years later and revealed all manner of strange experiments that had been performed on them. Betty had seen aliens insert a probe into her belly button, and Barney claims he had forced to provide a sample of sperm. How do you think they got his sperm? I asked Billy this. He's like, are they going to take it like nicely? Like, are they going to jerk me off or are they going to stick a needle in my nuts? And I was like, probably the latter. And he's like, I don't want them to take it. It's so funny because that clip is in our trailer for the show. Where he's like, if you're going to at least take my sperm, at least make me happy.
Yeah, like
in our trailer for the show.
If I was put in that situation and I seen him pulling out a big needle, I'll be like, no, I'll come on command. I can jerk off.
Start jerking off as fast as you can.
It's fine. I'll be quicker than you guys setting a needle up. I would. As much as I've said for the last like 25 minutes that I don't like the whole like sexual undertones and just the idea of like, I think the idea of being naked in any situation just for some reason makes it like way worse, and like you feel way more exposed and shit like that. But yeah, I think in a situation like that, I'd be like, yeah, here, jerk me off or something. I really don't want any needles going into my nutsack.
No, ew, man.
Think.
I'll make everyone squirm. All right. I may have told the story before, but I will never get a vasectomy. Okay. Because when my father got his done, and I don't know why he chose to tell me this, but he said that they didn't numb him properly. And when he felt the knife go into his nutsack, and then he was like, oh, I can feel that. And then also I told my buddy Bill at work that gave me that big bag of weed or whatever. He's an older dude, the kind of hippie style dude. And he was like, oh yeah, when I got mine, they were pulling stuff and I could feel it in my stomach. And I was like, thanks, not doing that ever.
Actually, a couple of years back, I remember there was like a pretty famous thread on Reddit about dudes. It was like Ask Men or whatever it was. And it was dudes talking about having vasectomies, and the amount of responses that guys said when they were like pulling on the fucking tubes or whatever the fuck it is, they could like feel it in like your like lower stomach. So like, you know, when you get like, let's say you take a hit to the nuts, you know, you get that like kind of pain in your like, and like the dudes were saying I could feel like shit like tugging and like pulling around in there. And like so many of them were like afterwards, like you have that like dull ache, like you've been kicked in the nuts. I'm like, that just sounds like
I'm not doing that. I'd rather wear a condom until I'm 85 than fucking do that shit. Dude. So yeah, Barney claimed that you know he had to give semen. They supposedly they said that the aliens had large back eyes, actually kind of wrapped around receptors. Skeptics point out that Hill's testimony was given less than a fortnight after a television episode about aliens with wrapped around eyes. The factor is one that repeatedly features in abduction stories. The descriptions of aliens and the craft often identical to the stereotypical 1930s style cosmic invaders. No details have ever been revealed which could not have derived from the imagination of a comic book writer. So who knows? And then there's similarly no souvenirs have been brought back by any craft visited by humans that we know of. However, there's also a few examples featuring extremely disturbing physical evidence. One is where a pregnant woman was abducted by aliens who removed her fetus. In the article I got it from, it says FOTUS. Although she had previously gone for an ultrasound, that had confirmed her unborn child was present and doing fine. And when she went to the doctors afterward, it had simply disappeared. Pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I think that soured the Betty and Barney Hill story or whatever for me was probably her more so than anything, because
she was pretty credible though.
Like, but over time, didn't she like start to be like, oh, there's like aliens outside my house every day. There's aliens everywhere now.
Yeah.
And like, I think even if there was, as like bad as this might sound as somebody who wants aliens to be real, she probably should have like toned that down a bit, because I feel like it was quite credible. And then, you know, I had seen like there's a lot of people that are of the belief that she was like more into the idea that they had been abducted than him, and she had him like kind of go along with it. But I kind of got the vibe like you said, where I kind of felt like he was more afraid, if anything.
Yeah. The audio footage of him going through hypno-regressive therapy or whatever is quite frightening.
Have you seen The Fourth Kind? Fourth Kind.
Yes. I want to cover some of these movies on your show.
I would love to maybe, I don't know when this episode's going to release, but it would be cool to maybe even do like a commentary or a watch along of that movie to tie in on the other side.
Yeah, look out for that, because we can probably pull that off by the time this comes out. Obviously, it's going to go raw cuts to Twitch, but there's a big possibility that we can probably get them out at the same time and maybe do a watch-along review type setup kind of thing, because that movie freaked me out. And I think that, I think people have no idea how, like, to me, even though it's even more, like, the more frightening to me is that it's not aliens and it's our own government doing this and using like psychedelics and drugs to induce people into thoughts that they were abducted by aliens, and they use imagery or television or people dressed up in costumes, because a lot of people, William Cooper believes that their aliens are demons, but he also talked extensively about the idea that the military was doing a lot of these experiments, especially even Stephen Greer claims that there is real aliens out there. Real alien abductions have happened, but that Betty and Barney were abducted by the government. And that that's why there was like, they had people in Nazi uniforms and like gray alien costumes, and they were so under the influence of drugs that it all seemed real to them, which to me is even scarier. Then I would almost rather aliens. The fact that our government will do that to bring about some sort of authoritarian one world order is a lot scarier to me than aliens wanting to do experiments on us because they don't know what the fuck is going on with us.
Imagine how freaky that would be.
We are laughing.
I'm like, that's like, to me, frightening, man. I don't like that at all. So, obviously, there's people that have found like implants in their bodies. There is even a rumor that a private clinic in California has removed a number of strange implants from abductees' bodies. If these type of stories are true, there can be no denying that alien meetings leaving physical scars on the victims. The reports and evidence of bodies of abductees is hard to dismiss. And even if the implant is officially removed and studied, it could act as conclusive proof. Until then, many scientists are going to be skeptical that the phenomenon is nothing more than the product of the imagination. Easily in the 50s, the Greys began taking a large number of human experiments. So that it's the idea that most scientists will be like, no, that's not correct. That's not true. Yes. What do you think?
I thought you were every time I see your arm go over that side, I'm like, is he about to press a button? Do I talk now? Or
I'm trying to
You alien motherfuckers are gonna pay for this.
I'm trying to avoid coughing because like my throat is still torn a bit. That's why the beer's helping. I've been sucking on some lozenges. But I really wanted to get into this stuff because I have a bunch of ideas for alien episodes anyway, right?
So have you ever seen that idea of, because this was something I went down a rabbit hole of a couple of years back, that idea, what's this called now? Help yourself to my parents' wardrobe. What the fuck is that?
You think they're going to get down and dirty, man? Look at them. They're ready to fuck.
What is that?
It's an IPA. Look at that goofy fuck.
What doing IPAs?
I like it, man. They're strong, they're tasty. This is 6%, a thick and hazy IPA made with real raspberries and vanilla, lactose, a bevy of oats, and big fruity hops. Somebody sponsor us, motherfucker. Any conservative beers out there want to sponsor a somewhat conservative?
Here's a question for you before I move on to my previous thought.
It tastes like raspberries.
How much do you think drinking on a regular has affected you, like general health wise? Now, let's forget about like, you know, people could say, well, if you got your blood tests and if you done this, you know, your liver this and your kidneys that. But I just mean you as like the everyday workings of your body. Because I'm trying so hard now not to drink every day, but like especially around this time of year now, I'm like the other night I was like, I'll just have like 1 or 2 beers, and then I was fucking trashed going to bed.
See, I don't drink every day though, right? I drink when I record a beer or two, which is only maybe once or twice a week, but usually Fridays and Saturdays, especially recently, I've tend to go hard. But like when I realized I was sick, I do think it can affect your immune system. As I told you, I drank on Saturday, so we are we're at Thursday right now after the Christmas holiday. This is what people won't even realize. This cut will come out like weeks and weeks and weeks later. But I never really get sick. But it seems around this time I seem to. And for people that drink way less than me, get sick way more often. But I had 5 eggnog and rums. Then I had a beer. Then I went over to my wife's dad's and had a bunch of scotch. and I had 3 shots of this like fancy whiskey that I was given. It's pretty cool. I can't tell anybody about it though, because that's to do with the government. And then I had 3 shots of this whiskey. And then I drank more scotch, came home and had like 5 more scotches, and then had like a fucking mixed drink. And I woke up the next day and it felt like a fucking bus hit me. Like I was like sick. I had a fucking headache. I had a fever. I was like sweaty and nauseous and everything you could imagine. And I was like, oh, I'm just really hungover. And then it just persisted. And it's because my immune system was so low and my body's trying to fight the alcohol and everything that it essentially made me sick.
Yeah, I could see that. That used to happen to me quite a bit, actually. No,
see, and this is why I say like everything in moderation, right? Like the idea, if I didn't drink like that, I probably still would have got sick at some point, but it wouldn't have been as bad as how I felt on Sunday and Monday or whatever. And this is why, like, I think in moderation, it can be fine. I'm going to try to do dry January my best I can. It's going to be tough being around Brett because he wants me to come record on his new slut couch. He got like his couch reupholstered. We'll be back in Aliens soon, but it'll be fun to film on, especially if you come down. We'll probably like go check out a spot at some point. Maybe shoot off some guns, do some fun stuff. But it's going to be hard. It's tough just because like I genuinely just enjoy having a beer or two, and especially when recording, it kind of loosens up you a bit. It makes you, I don't know. I've been so used to it. But it will make it easier now that Billy is not physically here with me, because I feel like that always is tough.
Yeah, no, I've just found in the last couple of months, like, because I had gone completely like off of alcohol altogether and just had no desire. I think because I fucked my life up so many times from drinking. But like now, I've gotten more into that kind of like casual, like not being absolutely trashed, or even if I am, just in a completely better headspace, so I don't like freak out.
No, you just gotta enjoy it, and then you just gotta get a good
and
sleep.
It's like,
it's all about choose your battles.
I find myself realizing how much I do actually enjoy it, and I'm like, ooh, I'm dancing a fine line here between like wanting to have drinks like every day.
I think that most people should do like once or twice a week if they want to. Like, don't exceed that. Like, don't be pulling billies, man, and like drinking like 4 beers every night, 4 tall boys, 5 tall boys every night.
Yeah, but as I was gonna say earlier, have you heard about that idea of like, I can't remember exactly what they call it. Is it like anesthesia awareness or whatever it is? Because they tried to like,
what's that?
The Betty and Barney Hill story. I remember like I went balls deep on that a while ago. They've used it with other famous like abduction stories and things like that. I just remember it quite well from their story. They tried to at one point pass off like some study about this like so the idea of if you have some sort of like operation or whatever and you're going under the knife, and obviously they put you under an anesthetic and you're like fucking all over the place, you're like, the idea of like being asleep but also your body is still regulating as if you're not asleep and all this shit. And they've done all these studies of people who claim to have awareness of what went on in the room while they were being operated on. And like
and then they think that they've been abducted.
Yeah, and then what they done was they tied that to like trying to pass off a lot of these abduction people of being like, but maybe you just had like anesthesia awareness. And so like I remember with him, they found out, I think from his medical history that he had like a tonsillectomy or something like that. And they were like, maybe that night when you guys like seen that thing and maybe that like you had all these repressed memories and then you just remembered that you were getting your tonsils out one time, and that
sounds like bullshit.
It up with, and I don't know, I just
alien
it felt like a real reach. I was like, you're trying to tell me that this dude mixed up having his tonsils removed with being abducted by fucking aliens.
My real thoughts now about the Betty and Barney. I also want to say Betty. A Betty and Barney Hill story. I'm actually probably quite convinced that it was probably our own government to push the idea of Project Bluebeam and to keep putting it in the social subconscious and then letting these people like their stories get out and all that stuff. Like, it's quite possible. I think that like the real people that are in charge of the simulation that we live inside are quite intelligent in understanding our human psychology and know how to manipulate us. So it would make sense that they would slowly do this over time because, like I said, a bunch of old men, why do they want power? It's because they exist beyond this reality. They don't care. They're going to physically leave here, but they're not going to spiritually, quotations, leave here. They're going to always be around controlling it until humanity wakes up and we raise our vibration to a higher consciousness. Hopefully. So obviously there's a bunch of different experiments people are claiming. By the 60s, the rates sped up, and they supposedly, the aliens they got a little careless, you know, they're dropping bottles and fucking leaving sperm on the ground, people lick it up. I don't know what the fuck's happening or how they got careless, but by the 70s, their true colors were very obvious, but the special group of the U.S. government still kept covering up them. By the 80s, the government realized that it's too late, and there was no defense against the Greys. So programs, medias, TV, comics, commercials, books, magazines, etc., were actually enacted to prepare the public for an open contact with non-human beings. Now, at the beginning of the 90s, 1991, these programs continued and are working too well. And that's just a basic breakdown. This is when we're going to get into the deep shit. This is where the probe, you know, like it just gets sucked up in your butt, you know?
How do you feel about that?
About what?
The idea of being like anally probed.
Supposedly we have it's like supposedly we do have an orgasm spot in our asshole. I don't know. I've never experienced it, but that's supposedly we do. And I'll tell you what I heard, and I think I have a different version of what it is in the research that I did. But I heard that it's actually like hooked up to your spine, and you're like draining your spinal fluid. And there's because I don't know, there's stuff about like your spine, especially with chakras and all that stuff, and the essence of our bodies. I'm sure like the fact that like our heart emits like an electromagnetic frequency, you know, we are electrically alive, you know?
So you're telling me
that's why they're trying to suppress us with metals and shit.
I have a bad back. I should shove things up my ass to try and like alleviate the pain.
You could try. First you have to like, you gotta do like a beer bottle, and then you work up to a wine bottle, and then you work up to like a pylon cone.
Okay, everybody. So check out First Class Horror on Patreon. I'm gonna have an ongoing series, and it's gonna be me each week, trialing new anal probes to see can I fix my severe back pain.
It is quite disturbing. If anyone wants to have a little fun on the internet, like me and my friends did when we were young, go look up insertion porn. There's some people that put some weird things in their body, and it's disturbing to say the least.
There's times where I've seen things like that and been like, "Where does that go? What part
I know.
of your
How is that not
is
like
that in?"
I know, so fucked up, man. The Greys and the Reptoids are in league with each other, but their relationship is a state of tension. Da-na-na-na-na-na. The Greys are known the Nordics and the Reptilian race as their enemy. Don't confuse the difference between the Reptilian race, the Reptoids, the Reptiloids, because they're all completely different races. Okay, don't fuck it up. Some forces of the government want the public to be aware of what is happening, while collaborators want to continue making whatever deal necessary for an elite few to survive the coming conflicts. And that's why I released a song recently that I put out, like that I recorded in 2013, and I said, there's a war going on above our heads, blood-drenched children walking through the street. Your attitude is fuck them. I'd rather watch TV. The first verse of like, there's a war going on above our heads was that if we don't live in some fucking flat earth dome, that even on the NASA, which never straight answer, don't trust NASA, I get it. They fake all their in space stuff. It's all fucking CGI and green screens. But if the tether probe that they put up there, that's real footage. It looks like lights are swimming in a ocean sea. Like it almost looks like there's like crafts all around us. And when I was a kid and I saw that footage, it looks like there's like a battle going on. You see like weird hovering motherships that are like vibrating colors, but it's black and white, but it looks like they would be vibrating colors, but they're like vibrating in some way. It's quite compelling because like, who knows if that is real footage, and that was real, then that to me freaked me out because I've shown people that footage and then they zoom out and it's like all these lights just moving. People claim they're satellites, but at the time when the footage was taken, I don't trust that. You know, I think that fiber optic cables are in the sea, and I don't think that satellites are what we think they are all the time. Who knows though?
The more we talk about aliens and shit, I'm starting to remember how like scary aliens are to me in a way.
It is very scary. They don't like this guy.
No, he just looks
They're
like a cool dude.
Emotionless creatures that like this kid.
But there's like no like I don't know. There's like no pleading with them. There's no like way. There's no way out. Like I mean, if you were to go to bed tonight and like somehow say I don't know, wake up like mid fucking probing or whatever. What are you gonna do? You're gonna get up and like, okay, I need to go down the hallway and I need to like go through this door. Like, where am I? What's going on? Whoa, that's actually kind of unsettling. That face.
I know. I told you. That's AI, man.
That face.
AI is very unsettling.
Horrific. Jesus Christ.
Where's that? Imagine this thing,
Look
man.
at that,
You're in your room.
Look at that shit.
That's what I'm saying. These creatures, like, they don't have to look like us, man. They probably look like some terrifying creatures that may not even resemble us in any way. This one's funny. Surviving alien contact and warfare. Surviving an alien contact and abduction. It's a book about like how to survive.
I don't know if you've
aliens.
ever seen that like Detroit tactical dude or whatever on TikTok that does all the like dumbass street defense stuff.
Yeah,
we should do like our own like alien.
We should
course,
just make it up.
Course.
And probably get some views. Like, what is this guy doing? Is that guy going deep in that guy? That guy's like, what are you doing, man?
Roll?
I don't think I need that.
Wait, what is that guy on the table?
He's an alien creature. He's going to probe him. That's a big probe. This looks like a big, I don't know, like a, what's that called? What can I think of this, man? The goddamn orange potatoes. They're really good for you.
Potato?
Sweet potato, yeah. It's like a big ass sweet potato going in that guy's ass. Yeah, wonderful. The bottom line cannot be discerned beyond the facts at hand. Researchers admit to being stuck in the very early stages of the division and confusion more than anything else. The abductees themselves have to feel the pain, terrifyingly literal pain that comes from being at the mercy of an alien force whose bottom line agenda largely ignores the fundamentals of human dignity and a well-being. But the aliens do fully comprehend and seem to manipulate the requirements of organic reproduction creation. In this, they are much like us. We are dealing in the realm that overrides long-standing cultural habits of thought and behavior. All we have to work with are the reports that have been allowed to break through the rigid veil that hides the UFO. The bottom line is babies. That's what the research said. It said very extensively. It had 3 exclamation marks, so I had to yell it.
Just to get the point across.
Time and time again, abductees recall the same sequence of events. Observations, their mechanisms of consciousness controlled, softened under hypnosis. Many come in clean, quotations, that is, with little or no previous interest in UFOs or having ever heard or read much about, or reading several books. Like most people don't do that. They only hear them from books. Obviously it was stuff like Intruder and Communion, which Communion I've heard of the movie. I heard it was trash, but I'd still give it a chance. So it's funny because they're claiming that a lot of people that get abducted are people that are not even interested in UFOs because it's like we don't want to do that. That guy's gonna talk too much. Like I've watched video and specifically this one lady, and it's freaky. She claims she's a hybrid baby. Like she comes from aliens, and she's done talks at UFO conferences. She looks like she's missing a chromosome, but she's pretty intellectual. Like she actually says some like real shit, or gaining a chromosome, whatever the fuck that term is. What is it? You gain a chromosome? You have an extra chromosome. That's it. She looks like she has an extra chromosome, but she looks like a weird gray looking like alien. I don't remember her name, or I would have brought her up on the show or a clip of her at some point. But she says she has vivid memories of being like in the test tube. So they abducted her mom, who was like a drug addict, a heroin addict, and she claims because these people won't be necessarily believed, and they'll think it was just a drunken stupor on drugs. So they use these people that will most likely not say anything, even if they have recollections of it. They won't be believed anyway. And then so she said she remembers waking up in like they abduct her, take her mother's, the fetus cells or whatever, right? Her eggs. And then they like created her, and she remembers like being in the tube and then waking up and stuff like that, which is according to her. And then she was placed into her mother's arms, and her mother rejected her. And we're going to get to that at some point in this episode where we talk about the idea that they realize that they need, like, especially hybrid babies need like love and attention. So that's why I was saying to you, like, everyone that listens to this, go check out the episode that me and Billy did about the alien hybrid community, because it will branch off more of what we're talking about here, about the idea of, like, using babies.
Yeah, that like, and the whole procedure of like taking the sperm or taking the eggs, whatever, is always freaky. I have a really like, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but there was somebody that I was like big into at one point that had written a book. And he had done like 2,000 or 3,000 interviews with like supposed alien abductees or whatever.
Yeah.
And this guy was like balls deep, like basically believed everything. And I remember he would try and get people to like either draw it themselves, or he would try and interpret like, what they were explaining to him. Mm-hmm. I remember him saying like nobody in all the people he interviewed, nobody ever said that the tables they were put on had 4 legs. They said it just kind of came from the ground. But I remember he had this thing where it showed like, it was like a drawing of a dude lying on a table. And it was this weird, it looked like kind of like because he said it was explained all the time as like a similar thing. So like that pipe that's going into the back of that guy's head, it was like that with like this weird, like, I guess it was described, I think, in the book as a flashlight, but I think you could probably like compare it to like a fleshlight, I think. And like your dick would be put into that. Weird. And they would use that to like extract the sperm or whatever. But
and just to pump your dick.
But like while they were doing that, they would on the males they would perform what was it called?
Fellatio.
What was it called again? The staring procedure or the staring experiment or something like that, where like one of them would get down like beside your head on the bed or on the table or whatever you're on, and just like stare at you for like, I don't know, an extended period of time. Like some people say it was like 10 minutes, some people say it was like an hour longer, and like don't move a muscle, they don't breathe, they don't do anything, they're just like that right beside you. And they were explaining it's like, I knew he was like in my mind, like going through all my memories and all my knowledge and everything.
That's so scary. I don't want that at all. I don't want some alien staring at me and be like, tell me your darkest secrets.
I just remember there was a drawing, and like it was really crudely drawn, and it fucking used to the idea of that used to freak me out.
Yeah, it's fucking scary, man. People of all races, most ages, both sexes have had this experience with aliens. It is fairly obvious the researchers maintain the manufacture of hybrid babies dominates the alien agenda. They want the babies, bro. They want them. Scary. I'm going to get you this book for your birthday.
Yeah, do that actually. Surely to God.
Taken by alien captain.
Surely to God there's some fucking alien porn out there.
The fact that people buy these books, bro, that there's legit people that have bought these books that are like, sexy alien probing me and putting a baby inside my belly, and they've sold, because some of them definitely have sold, and they're like on Amazon, I looked, is crazy. So the genetic sequence of events as recorded documents is as follows: examination, egg harvesting, and sperm sampling. Do they like go like a shot glass?
Oh, God. A chin-chin. And they're all like cheers and each other.
A little nutty. Baby presentation only for females, rare for males, which has happened. There's a case specifically about sexy aliens I want to get into at some point about the man, and he's like showing all his hybrid kids and stuff like that, and he's like, "Wow, I'm a real boy. I'm a dad." And they'll show the baby, be like, "Here's your baby. We created it. Now fucking figure it out because we don't know what we're doing. We're aliens." Machine examination, media presentation of idyllic environments. The abduction sequence is not exact in every instance, but enough leading indicators must be present to qualify the case as one deserving further investigation. I don't know what the fuck that means. Capture, examination, conference. So like, I don't know. Like, this is just like basic breakdown of supposedly what could happen during an alien abduction. I don't know what the conference shit is about. They like bring you like you're in Star Wars, you know, and you go in that like arena.
Yeah.
Where it's like has all the aliens and shit, and you're just like in the middle, and they're like, "Look at his little dick," and everyone's like starts laughing and shit. They're like, "Whoa, man, our dicks turn into swords, man." Everyone's just like, for everyone, go back and listen to the Reptilian episode because supposedly they have dicks that detach, turn into swords. And it's called the Reptilian Sex Battles. It's fucking fun. Maybe it's one of those books from Amazon.
Dick off and turn it into a sword. There was another, I can't remember the name of it as well. It was another quite famous abduction story. I want to say it was a guy, and he claimed to have seen this craft, and like your typical kind of like saucer shaped craft or whatever. And
that makes me think it's the military.
He said it had really specific. He was like, it was either 8 or 11 windows, which I thought was really bizarre numbers to come up with. On the side that he could see, and he was like, there was people in each window, so there was like anywhere from 8 to 11 people.
Oh, I think I've heard
and
this.
And they were wearing shiny black like suits, and they had these weird like black hats. But he was like, I could clearly tell that they weren't humans. Like they had these weird bulbous heads and like these freaky looking eyes. And
it's the alien village
he
people.
Was like, I was looking at them, and they were all just staring at me. There was like no sound whatsoever. The craft wasn't making any noise. There was like no sound, nothing like that.
That's fucking scary.
And he was like, but I couldn't, like people questioned him on like, why didn't you run? Why didn't you do this? And he was like, they weren't saying anything. I couldn't hear anything, but I knew they were telling me not to go anywhere, not to move from where I was, and to continue staring back. And then he was like, out of nowhere in like sequence, all of them except for one disappeared, like moved back, like stepped away from the windows.
So weird.
And then there was just one singular guy or alien or whatever still looking at him the entire time. And he was like, this went on for like 15 minutes. And then they just like, and it was gone. And he was like, I never experienced anything ever again.
Like a fucking zoo. I want to pick up some books about alien abductions because I feel like I'd really dive deep into it and I'd enjoy reading them. And then I want to start doing that with books that I have, is like getting a highlighter and highlighting stuff, especially with the David Icke books. Like it's fascinating stuff if it's true at all, right? I don't know. I there's something about David Icke which like makes me trust most of what he says. I feel like he's just trying to. He really wants humanity to wake up with like love and good vibrations and stuff like that. There's something about him that like, he's not trying to lead people in like down a dark path. He's trying to be like, hey, there's some weird shit going on. And a lot of people think he's disinformation agent and he's swaying your da da da. And like, I'm like, I don't know, man. As long as you are like skeptical and question everything as I do, then nothing should be a problem. But the one thing you should question is like the mainstream media, what you're being told. And if someone is being banned from all these countries for speaking and writing books, that should probably raise some alarms in your head that he's probably saying some shit that they don't want you to know about.
And I mean, on a I guess like a little side note off of that, if anybody thinks that, the news you watch or the media or whatever you consume isn't like some paid bullshit, there's a big, huge story in Ireland at the minute of, I can't remember exactly, I need to like, because I think it only came out today, but there's been a document basically leaked or released that the government are paying all of our like bigger radio stations, TV stations, up to 95,000 euros per article or per like little piece to talk about specific topics like
it's propaganda at every angle. Dude, every angle. The liberal government in Canada pays CBC, like our fucking main news station and stuff like that, $600 million a year. They can't live off of the people, like the just consumers, because nobody watches it. And that's why even like I don't trust any politician. I don't trust any of these fucking political leaders that have went to Jerusalem and fucking kissed the stupid rock. I don't trust any of that shit. Why are you kissing a fucking Jew rock, bro? What the fuck is going on with all that shit, man? I have real fucking big questions about that stuff. Seems like somebody owns somebody else and somebody thinks that something else is happening, but it's really not. It's just like people are so dumb. I don't know what the fuck is going on with the world, but people are like, they're consumed by this system. But it's just crazy because most of the stuff that we know is propaganda. They're lying to us at every angle and they want you to be consumed and angry. But the only thing that's going to get us through this is love. Love. I've been playing these glasses. Now they're so dirty, my hippie glasses. Love's going to get us through this. But it's just like, I think that if you're not questioning stuff at this point, through all the stuff that's happened in the last couple of years, and you're just walking through life as like what they call them, an NPC, where it just seems like a lot of people are like that. That you're just walking through like a fucking robot and you're like, don't look at that. Don't look at that. It's mind blowing. So they say there's conferences. I don't know what the hell those are about. Those are tours. So people can be taken aboard a ship, which has happened where they're like, look at this. Look at this. There's one story about Ashtar, I think. One of the Galactic Federation type stories. And they're like, I think maybe it was George Calavisius, which this guy has disappeared. I used to watch all of his videos when I was a teenager. Some Australian dude that claimed to have been abducted by aliens and had connections to the Andromeda Council, much like Alex Collier, and which also a fascinating guy. Alex Collier, listen to his stuff, man. He's fascinating. Same with, I also really like, I remember his name in a second, but Alex Collier is interesting to say the least. Anyone's interested about. He's talking about the reptilian stuff way before a lot of other people were, and I think it might have been him or George Calavisius or one of these dudes. And there's this ball essentially that they had that could like show you like all your memories and stuff throughout the universe. It had like an it had all this knowledge downloaded onto it, almost like a USB or something like that. And somebody tried to take it off the ship. One of the abductees, one of these guys, I think. And then the aliens knew, and they're like, no, you got to put that back. And they're always watching. These were like good ones for once. And they like would take him around the ship, show them how things worked. And then told him that they want him to pass down some of what the knowledge that they're telling this guy or whatever. I've seen tons of stuff like that, right? Where there is some positive experiences. Like there's, one chick, Barbara Mancini, is that her name? Something like that. And she's like a channeler. And some of these people that can channel, I don't know. If it's an act, man, they're doing very good. Where she talks normally like a normal person, all of a sudden she goes in this zoned out thing and she's like, I am from the galaxy of that. And it's like, it sounds like a totally different person. The way they speak, their mannerism, everything changes. Have you ever seen some of those people that channel?
So something like that to me, I often think about that. I'm like, I don't know whether I believe this or not, but I'm like, some of it is so convincing that I'm like, if this is not real, like you deserve whatever
Academy Award.
like whatever wealth and like positive things that you gain in your life from doing this, you deserve it. Because like even when people talk about like David Icke, they're like, oh, he's full of shit, it's all just fucking made up, make believe. I'm like, yeah, that dude should be like some sort of a fucking fiction writer then, or writing movies or something, because if that's the case, he has such a wealth of like storytelling
100%
that like he should be in a completely different career altogether.
Yeah, Bashar. What's up, man? Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. Like, I don't know. You see, like, there's people that you think that are full of shit. It's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to discern what is like real. And if I'm one of those people, I want to believe. Oh, and that's why I think this photo that I have is funny. Where is it? Because it's like, you want to believe until, they're actually there. Or is it this one where he has like, I want to believe? It's a kid terrified. His cat's like all snuggled up next to him, but there's this weird translucent gray alien. And then look at the little tag. It says, no longer I want to believe. It's like a little tag on the top of the thing that the alien puts up, because it's like, I want to believe until it's actually happening to you. And then you might not want to believe anymore. You might want to go back to being an NPC character,
I feel like there was probably great potential there for me to be in that position, because as much as I go, I wish aliens were real, the idea of being abducted and all, to be able to tell that story, like, and really believe and feel what has happened to me, but then at the same time
feel it in your ass.
Yeah, like just feeling
feel
it deep
gaped.
inside. And at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I could ever, like, my mental state can be quite fragile at the best of times here on Earth. So I'm like, if that happened to me, I'd like I said earlier in the episode, I would probably have to be put in a padded cell somewhere.
100%, because like imagine like these are like, I think these two are specifically drawings.
They were like the tit head dude from fucking Little Nicky, who I reference
in every
and imagine
single
episode.
Seeing
that's going to become a thing, I think, for me. I'm just going to reference that guy in every single episode ever.
I know, it seems like you're definitely doing that. But like the people that draw their experiences that they've had, it's like, how are you making that up? Especially I'm trying to think of her name right now. The Andreessen affair. Me and Anton covered her when he was around, and that case is fascinating too, because it's like so bizarre, and she believes everything that she's saying. At least it seems like that. So obviously there's people that were taken on off-worldly journeys. There's also people that are brought back with some sort of religious message. Betty Andreessen was kind of like that, and then you have like the aftermath of maybe them showing you what's going to happen to the planet, stuff like that. So obviously this hasn't been, this hasn't happened in many cases, but still deserves a particular mention. At the moment of significant number of abductees tend to retain a special, almost spiritual feeling about their experience. If they were treated roughly or hurt, it's kind of different. But there has been people that come back from it. It's funny because I just said Betty Andreessen. She came back like, they love us. And that's the one where like the Greys came into her house, froze everybody in mid-stride. Everyone was frozen. And then you wonder, can they see what's happening? Do you know what I mean? Can you see what's happening, or are you stuck in time and space where you remember nothing and you're like, you're Men in Black, you're like, memories wiped clean? But that story is fascinating. It's the fact that like she was taken, and then but like they froze her whole family in like mid-stride, like someone's like eating cereal, like everyone's just like stuck there, and then they take her and I think bring her back and they resume everything. But that's why eventually, like, one thing I want to cover on Class Horrorcast is Dark Skies. I think we want to do the fourth kind first, but Dark Skies was a movie where I was like, afterwards I was like, great representation of an alien abductions and being contacted by some sort of UFO. I thought they did a great job at scaring the living shit out of the audience about how bad it could be, you know?
That's another really good one. I'm just looking here when you mentioned, like, you know, drawings and stuff like that, and I came across one by a guy, David Huggins.
Huggins, bro. He's the one I want to talk about. He's the one, isn't he the one that he paints all his experiences? Dude, and he's like,
there's one with like an alien holding him or whatever, a boy.
I know.
Like sticking thing up his nose. I don't know why, but I'm like looking at that shit going, that is freaky.
Yeah. I would love to talk about David Huggins at some point. I'm pretty sure he's the one that paints the stuff, right?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Yeah, so and he paints all of his sexual experiences. Me and Billy talked about him slightly, but I feel like some of these cases, even if we talk about it back in the day, in short form, I would love to dive into the whole story and really analyze it, because some of them are like super bizarre. Like there's the, I can't remember his name, it's some Brazilian name, but he had very sexy experiences with aliens, and he seems to really enjoy himself.
Don't know if it's for me.
Me neither. What if she was like the perfect Aryan woman, you know, like the Nordics, like blonde, perfect bone structure, perfect jawline, just like the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen. Because there is the Nordic races, like we've covered the Reptilians, we've covered the Greys, we're talking about alien abductions. At some point, we will be talking about the Pleiadians and the Nordic races of beings, which I would love to get into, because that shit is like more positive, but also can be negative, because it could be the Reptilians projecting images in your mind of beautiful women or men. But I think that shit would definitely be fun to dive into, because a lot of people have also had experiences, like Madame Blavatsky supposedly had an experience to do with Nordic beings, or at least read about it. The Big H seems to like really love that type of woman, you know?
So I just found out, doing a little bit more research, there's actually an hour-long documentary.
About Huggins?
Yeah, called Love and Saucers.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's his book, too, I think.
Yeah, David Huggins lost his virginity to an alien woman among 100 other extraterrestrial encounters and chronicles it all in surreal paintings, few of which have ever been seen. Love and Saucers is the in-depth version of his story.
We'll definitely be covering that
would be
at some point. I think it would be a lot of fun. Me and you will specifically cover that. Maybe to see if Billy's set up and ready to go, maybe we can get him on that one because he'd probably enjoy himself. So obviously, maybe researchers are getting close to an answer about abductions. A body of evidence that once There's weird things you have to do when you're researching this stuff because you have to match up details. There's lie detector tests. There's obviously relative to like psychology of the witness. Are they insane? Is their mental capacity? Are they insane or not? Right? Like the idea of like, you'd have to make sure that this person is like at least credible, insane, and that witnesses that know them, I don't know. I feel like if I got abducted by aliens, I don't know how many people would believe me.
Yeah, and you see, this is the problem. I think that, unfortunately, within the last, 50, 100 years, it's so easy to discredit things. In the sense of I'm quite sure that if I got abducted by aliens tonight and I told anybody, they'd be like, "You're a fucking lunatic. You sit up in your attic talking about conspiracies and horror movies. Of course you got abducted by aliens. Of course you did." And it'd be really
trying to sell your story.
Yeah, it'd be really easy. And even if you didn't ever try and make any money from it, you just wanted to put it out there, people will still go like, "Yeah, you're just fucking mentally ill." That's
why I find when there is people that get abducted by aliens and they want their story out for free and they don't want to make any money off it. Same with haunting experiences. People that go through crazy experiences with the paranormal. I think if you're not wanting to make money, you're probably truthful. Because why would you I don't know why else you would do that. Because a lot of those people, even when it comes to the paranormal hauntings, they get ridiculed like crazy. So why would you want that?
Because in a way, you're kind of like we talked about this on a previous episode. That idea of assassination doesn't necessarily have to be like being shot or killed or poisoned or whatever. No. Like just assassinating your character. And I feel like, if you were to come out in modern day and be like, "I was abducted by aliens," you're essentially assassinating your own character in a way.
100%. This is funny. It says, in a large number of doctors in conventional gynecological practices, isn't that the finger with the vagina, going inside the vagina? Like peekaboo, we're exposed to abduction data. A whole new subspecialty would be inevitable if this was supposed to be happening at the rate that we think it is. Many women abductees indicate that aliens tampered with their reproductive organs, if not actually committing a form of technological rape. Some women abductees are plagued with the stark memories of strange, wimpsy-haired offspring whose presence sometimes invokes the feeling, "That's my child." That's what it says in quotations. That's my child. It's like some Jerry Springer shit, like, "You are not the father."
Freaky, man.
Yeah, imagine seeing some weird creature baby and then the aliens are showing it to you and then it invokes this thing of "That's my baby. That's my baby. It's my child."
What do you think actually, I remember reading up on this a while back. What do you think of the idea of earlier I mentioned the thing with the anesthetic and the anesthesia awareness or whatever, and I've seen other people try to claim that it's some form of sleep paralysis. So I don't know if you've ever heard of things like the old hag.
Yeah. I'm quite aware of the old hag.
Yeah, so the idea of that,
we can cover her at some point.
And some people try to be like, "Oh, it's just a fucking sleep paralysis thing. It's you're drifting in between, blah, blah, blah." And people try to pass that off as memory of alien abductions. How do you feel about that?
See, I think that could be possible, right? But the idea that sleep paralysis is usually entities trying to enter your body, and I believe this. I don't know if I've ever told you Brett's experience, right, with sleep paralysis. or lucid dreaming, essentially. So Brett was dating. He told us this is now on a Patreon episode. So everybody, our first strange stogies, which we'd love to have you on at some point, right? Especially if you're down here, we'll go out to Brett's, we'll smoke some cigars, and we'll do like a free for all, because it's the strange stogies. The idea that we just sit around, smoke cigars, and shoot the shit. I was bringing up tons of different articles. So Brett told me the story about he was dating a Wiccan. And the woman's mom, or the chick's mom, was also a Wiccan. And they taught him how to lucid dream properly. And then so he kept trying, and he eventually achieved it. And he saw his body lying there. He was walking around out of his body. And then he started hearing like the doorbell constantly ringing, going out like it was like going off.
Dude,
and
this
then
is already giving me chills.
And then so he was like walking in some astral world, and then he said that like as he started getting close to the doorbell went, and then it stopped, and then he like jolted back into his body, and then when he woke up, he came out of his room or whatever, and his dad was like, someone was just ringing on the fucking doorbell, and his dad heard the doorbell also, and then went to the door and then opened it, and it stopped. At the same time, it stopped in the lucid dream for Brett. And then so he talked to the Wiccan's mom, the mother Wiccan, and then she was like, did you answer the door? And he's like, no. Like, my dad kind of opened it, which is weird. And she's like, well, it was something trying to get in. And then she was like, if you would have opened that door, you would have let something in, most likely to your body. And you may have been stuck in the astral world while this thing inhabited your body.
That's so freaky. Like it's that.
Be careful when you're lucid dreaming.
Yeah, like
everybody.
it's that thing, and I've always been fascinated by that, and like I've seen and heard different stories about it, and I was like, I would love to try that, but then at the same time, like you just said, something like that would be enough to put the shits up me to be like, maybe I shouldn't fuck around with that.
No, and we'll really analyze it when we talk about the Conjuring universe, and especially Insidious and stuff like that on your show when we get to that point, because I'm going to analyze the whole situation of what is happening and how real it could be on Class Horrorcast. So everyone go subscribe, make sure to do that. But at some point I'd like to talk about that, because it dives into the real ideas of what is actually possible. And I've known people, I've had my own sleep paralysis experience, and everyone knows it. I've said the story millions of times, but it was frightening. It proved to me that things exist beyond our eyesight that we'll never explain. And that makes me freaked out that there's dark energies, could be the reptilians or some sort of aliens or beings that exist on a different dimension that utilize the sleep paralysis experiences, and they're actually trying to take your body. What I had my shadow people experience, it felt like they were trying to rip my soul from my body. That's what it felt like. And your tether will always be supposed to be connected. The only death severs the tether. But at some point, you can have beings enter and inhabit your body, and your tether will still be connected, but you'll be like on the outside looking in, which is scary. Just like you see in a lot of horror movies that have some sort of possession experience.
I don't know. All that shit just like freaks me out, dude.
I know.
Like,
I love talking about it though, man.
Yeah.
And we're going to be diving into some very cool ghost aspects. We have some people that we want to bring on the show just kind of for fun, maybe get a female perspective. We got some stuff in the works that's kind of going to be a lot of fun for the fans. So other medical patterns that are consistent, supposedly with alien abductions, are the nasal cavity. They like going in the nose for some reason. It's probably because it leads directly to the brain. That's why you don't do cocaine, kids. Ears. They like to know what's going on in the ear holes for some reason. Eyes, which there's alien experiences, people like in their eyes popped out and shit, like weird stuff. They're like I was watching this video, I want to finish it on Rumble, about like adrenochrome, and linking to like Satanists and aliens and stuff. And they were showing graphic images that are supposed to be real of people's bodies being found, and their fucking eyes are missing, and their like jaws are torn apart, and it looks like their body is sucked dry. It's like supposed to be real footage, and it's freaky if it's real, to say the least. People can believe what they want. At some point, we'll do an episode about adrenochrome, but definitely won't put it on YouTube. But I do think that it is very real, more real than people ever want to acknowledge. And finally, I can watch The Sound of Freedom, because that shit's on Prime now. So I was like, I wanted to watch it last night, but I was like, I don't know. I'm still a little sick. I don't know if I want to watch a whole movie about child abduction, but the fact that that goes on so often and people don't even bat an eye to it, that shows that this probably goes a lot deeper than most people realize. Genitalia, speaking about that. Obviously, they're fascinated by the penis and vagina, umbilical cord, the umbilical navel region on females only. So yeah, weird. These areas appear to be physical areas of greatest interest to the abducting aliens. Many abductees have described a thin probe with a tiny ball on its end being inserted into their nostril, usually on the right side. The alien abductees are able to hear a crushing type of sound as the bone in this area is apparently being penetrated. We believe that this is when they insert a device for tracking and communication with the abductees for obviously future. For the future is insert. They insert it so they can find you later. You know what I mean? Like a cow or a fucking dog or some shit.
Aliens, I'm putting this out there now. If you're listening to this, if I do ever get abducted, while you're doing whatever you're doing, please fix the discs in my lower back.
There you go.
Please.
You can do it. I don't know. You should really look into like some herbal medicine healing or like Reiki or some shit, man. You should go look at like let some chick whap you with some like sticks and stuff. See what happens.
I let a Thai chick like jump all over me yesterday.
Really? Did it help?
Yeah, it helps for like a week with like muscular pain, but then obviously like the discs themselves are just all jammed up, so it doesn't really fix.
You're gonna have to get a bacchiotomy. Backside, I need a bacchiotomy.
It's gonna have to be something like that, unless there's some nice aliens out there that can abduct me and not perform any jerk off experiments or anything, and just do my back.
What if it's nice? What if it's a nice time? You know?
Yeah, well, if I'm enjoying it, but if I'm like screaming in pain and there's like blood and shit involved, then I'm not really. Like what
if it's the government that's really doing the abductions, that the negative ones, right?
So,
and
you know what? I'm assuming you've seen that movie District 9.
Yeah, that's actually a fun movie.
Yeah.
To talk about.
So, like, while I know some of it's like goofy and kind of like comedic, you know the idea when that guy who's supposed to be like, what is he? He's like kind of like an in between the government and like.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember really enjoying it.
Yeah, so like the whole idea is like the aliens are real and they keep them in this like shithole like encampment.
Yeah.
And like the humans have figured out how to like take their technology off them, whatever. So they've all been like fucked into this slum basically. And then they have these people. I can't remember if the guy is supposed to work for some kind of like UN alien kind of branch where like he goes into this place and he communicates with the aliens, like talks to them to figure out like is everything all right, if they've like if they've been breeding and there's like new aliens and shit like that. And at one point, I can't remember, something happens, they come across one of the aliens and he's like, no, fuck off, I'm not like dealing with whatever. And I think I don't know if he finds something in his little shack and it shoots some black shit into his face and it like goes in his mouth and in his eyes and stuff and he's like coughing and puking and shit. Then obviously from there, he's after been like exposed to some weird alien shit. So he gets quarantined and like sectioned. But from that point then, it's what I like about it is it shows the turn in like all of a sudden, the same people he was working for and the same government he was working for now have him in some weird underground facility and are using him to like try and work the alien technology and weapons and stuff.
Yeah, because he's been
like infected or whatever you want to call it. But like there's a scene I think where they're trying to get him to use some sort of like laser gun thing, and like he's like screaming in pain and saying it's like excruciating. I think he puts his hand into it.
Yeah, I think I kind of remember that. I haven't seen it in
it's
a
like
while,
fucking doing some shit to his like skin and his veins and stuff. And I remember thinking, I was like, that's the kind of like image I have in my head of like if this is the government or there is some like involvement there. I don't picture it being like, oh, it's just like a nice thing we're trying to like figure out for like the sake of humanity.
No, and bring up that too. It's kind of funny because considering we were just talking about astral projection, when we talked about the Dulce base in New Mexico, Dulce, whatever the fuck you want to pronounce it, people are fascinated by that. That's got a bunch of downloads. That shit's fascinating because there's supposedly the idea that like there's all these different levels of the Dulce base, right? There's the human, the alien, the experimentation, the area where they kept the weapons, all sorts of stuff, right? And there's supposed to be even a spot where they house souls. And supposed to be, even if there's people that have tried to astral project onto the base and their souls get captured on the base. And then so your body all off in your bed somewhere in fucking South Dakota, wherever, right? And then you're like you go into paralysis and you're in a coma for like years or some shit, right? Nobody knows what's wrong with you. That's supposed to be how it would probably go. But your soul is being detained in these containers in the Dulce base. And like, I think they have all sorts of bases. They the dumbs or whatever. Mark Zuckerberg is building a fucking base. And this is where it makes me think, like, what do they think is coming, man? Because like they're building bases right now all over the place. Mark Zuckerberg, the fact that he's even building one,
like that, like $270 million fucking thing, which is like insane.
They don't care. Joe Rogan built a bunker, man. Why is he building a bunker? What does he know that he's not telling us? You know, I'll survive though, and if I do die, I'm gonna come back as a fucking anamorphiac or whatever. I'm gonna be like that thing that turns into a bird. I don't know. It's fucking, anamorphics or whatever the fuck that. You remember that book they give you in like elementary school? And like the kid turns to a bird on the cover. Yeah. Like transforms. I don't know, man. I'm trying to be positive. I really do have faith in humanity at the end of the day. I do think that more and more people are waking up to the fact that everyone in power is a parasite and that leeches off the system, and they need us to survive. So without us complying to their bullshit, they don't exist. That's how this works, people. That's why there's one video where the guy's like, there is more people. And he like pauses, like, listen to me. There is more people. There is more people than police. There is more people than government officials. There is more people. And it's just like, yeah, no shit. Nobody seems to understand that we have power in collective numbers. And that's why I preach all the time. Like people always, what's the solution? We need to band together and say no and put our money where we want to put it and all that type of shit. Boycott what we need to. Enough people do that, man. The system erodes from the inside out. And it seems like more and more people are being less afraid. Don't be afraid of your government. Your government should fear you. When you fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there's freedom.
It's funny, like when you think about it, though, how like it is kind of as simple and as difficult as that. In the sense of just being like, think about this for a second, right? If majority of the population of the planet just went, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. They'd be done.
It's as simple as that. Like,
stop celebrity worship and all that.
What are you going to do? Like, what are they going to send the police out and kill everybody on the planet?
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to corral that many people and be like, well, no, or if you don't comply, we're going to like put you in some like concentration camp. Well, then the entire planet would have to be one, and we outnumber you probably thousands and thousands and thousands
100%.
to one.
But we are in a prison planet, so we'll see. We have to wake up. Our consciousness needs to be raised with vibrations of love. Put some flowers in some tanks. So the most interesting aspect...
I will.
I will. The most interesting aspect of alien control and manipulation is that the technology that they uses allows the separate and distinct manipulation of both the gross and finer densities that comprise the physicality of the human body. So the understanding of this is like they have the ability to place a human on a table, put him or her into a delta sleep, shock him or her with a static charge, separate his or her finer bodies, and manipulate them at will. Somehow they put you in this state. I don't know what it means by finer bodies, but I found this interesting, was why I put it in, is the idea that they can manipulate you in the finer areas that involve the formative forces of the physical body and have tremendous effect on a physical level. So I feel like they're able to like put you into some sort of static shock or put your body in some weird delta sleep, but yet they can experiment on the inner workings of your body without really damaging your skin and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's not like the crude aspects of using like a scalpel knife to get inside your body and stuff like that. They're able to like go inside with some sort of technology. They also have the ability to withdraw experience and memory from a human and place that experience and memory into another body. this is crazy, or a container, whether the container is a natural or a synthetic one. Manipulations of these types have the effects on the ability to have one's consciousness leave the body and emotion response and patterns reprogrammed, and the ability to deal with the psychic blocks and a host of other parameters. So this means like they can take our consciousness, supposedly, which is even scary, our thoughts, our memories, and then put it into either like some sort of robot, a clone, all sorts of shit like that. That they have the ability and the technology to be able to do this. So they can make like a perfect replica of you is what this is kind of getting to. And to begin to counteract this, work must be done by the individual to work on expanding one's awareness. Connections must be developed between the conscious self and the second self, which may be the self that is projected astrally. After a while, the consciousness maintenance of the connection begins to combine both consciousness memories which lie deeper, work on self-hypnosis, regression techniques with qualified individuals. These techniques will aid in the process of developing more awareness and control. So I think, listen to this, the idea is that they can like put you, if they want to use you in this way, they can use you to like control another version of yourself.
Scary.
I know, which is frightening. And like they're cloning people. I don't care what the fuck people say, man. We cloned sheep in the 80s. It was all over the fucking news, and then it disappeared. Nobody talks about it. I think they've had cloning technology for before that, but all we know is, yes, they cloned sheep. It worked. They claimed it worked, and then we didn't hear anything about it. Everything was silenced. There's a fucking place in Toronto called Clone Aid. I think this is quite possible that there's celebrities that are cloned. I'm convinced that Britney Spears is either dead, cloned, or she's dead, most likely, in my belief, and that they're using deep fake technology to make it look like she's dancing around with fucking knives in her hands.
You know, there's a lot of arguments there for that.
So weird, man. I just want to show you this. This is supposed to be some of the where they get into the female bodies. Nice, eh? Needle marks on the roof of the mouth. Upon the experimentation by a doctor reveals evidence of bearing more children than female is aware of. Scoop marks of the skin. They scoop out the skin. Needle marks on the navel. And then you got the bum. I'm surprised there's no fucking indication right in the ass, eh? Needle marks in the back head, unexplained gashes or slices, triangle rashes, which is weird. Like, to me, if people are getting abducted by the saucers, I think that that's probably the military. The people that are getting abducted by even those triangular or like the Tic Tac ones, I feel like those are probably something that that are not of this world. Because the flying saucer thing seems to be the thing that the military has conditioned people to believe that this is what it is, but it's probably not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is actually equally, or if not more, scary, to be honest, because the idea then that you're not just contending with, like, you as an everyday person that has to contend with this stuff. It's like, am I getting abducted by these like blood-sucking leeches from this planet we're already on, or is it some other like scary shit that's happening to me from something else?
100%. So here's some indicators of an alien interaction or possibly a hidden involvement in an abduction or something. Missing time, waking up during the night or the morning with unusual bodily sensations such as tingling, numbness, dizziness, heaviness, or paralysis. Nightmares or vivid dreams of aliens and their technology. Dude, I had a dream the other night that like I kept pulling a piece of string from the fucking bottom of my stomach, and I literally felt it, dude. I felt it in my dream of like something being in my throat down through my stomach and me being able to pull it from. I felt what it felt like. I can still like in my head feel what it. And that's why dreams are crazy, man. That's why I'm reading this book right now, The Awakening in the Dream. Is interesting because dreams try to tell you something, and there's different versions of it. I can't remember the other one, but the one was like you need to speak out about something but you haven't yet, and I'm like, I say too much, so that can't be it. And there's like another thing, but dude, I like vividly, dreams are freaky, dude. Dreams are freaky, man. I had like a dream about me like for a couple weeks, a dream that kept kind of reoccurring a little bit about me having a confrontation with my boss. And then I did have a confrontation with my boss. So I'm like, I don't know. It's weird, dude.
Which is fucking scary.
It's like my brain or my dreams were telling me this is going to happen. Sleep disorders, often waking up at a specific time. It's Like, and that's like kind of, isn't that like the fourth kind? She keeps waking up at a certain time.
Yep.
Physical marks or evidence of bodily manipulation, repeated sightings of alien crafts, a clear remembrance of alien contact and interaction, healing or an explicit improvement in condition or into physical health, reactions of fear, anxiety, unusual body sensations upon viewing visual images of aliens or their technology, feelings of having bad communication. I don't know what that means. Feelings of having bad communication, an unexplained behavior, total consistent with previous patterns. Weird. There's a lot of weird stuff that could be indicators. Obviously, physical health problems. And so I'm going to end it on something kind of interesting. It has to do with the clone shit. So this is something I found that was interesting. Who knows how much truth it has. Do you want me to break it down before we kind of tie the knot?
Yeah, sure.
On this?
Sure.
There is absolutely no doubt that replication of humans is going on. A process that has part to play in the manipulation of the events on this planet. Hundreds of individuals over the last 20 years have attested to what they have seen, both on alien crafts and in underground installations. The synchronicity and sheer weight of the corroboration from vastly unconnected sources is damning evidence that is occurring. A lot of the evidence stated to the surface in the 1970s. A lot of it seems to tie in the idea that the political figures have been undergoing a process of duplication. During this process, the individual responses, memories, and habitual patterns have copied from the human to be duplicated. The original can then perverse or process into a basic biological components. This clone then functions as the original, except that the entity is under alien control. There is also an apparent minority of cases where the synthetic duplicate's consciousness is directly replaced by an alien consciousness. They call this the walk-in. So get this shit, it's wild. Some abductees claim that in some cases, the reptoids will clone a human body through time-space acceleration, transfer the conscious memory matrix from the original body into the replicated body for the sole purpose of consuming the original body along with this emotional chemical residue and the vital energies contained therein. So they will make a duplicate of you and put all the memories and register everything that they need to from you so they can use you as a food source, your replica. Emotional energies which have accumulated through a lifetime of emotional expression, these emotional juices within the physical body is considered the delicacy by these energy vampires. Pretty crazy. And I want to do an episode about psychic vampires at some point. And one day we will have to talk on your show about what we do in the shadows. Because that shit is like genius, man.
100%.
So smart in the way like the whole show is set up, especially that what's that dude's name that is the energy vampire?
I can't remember.
I just watched the episode where he's like he becomes the boss of like the office. He becomes like the CEO of the office, and he's like, it's so easy, and he just like so
I feel
funny.
like that's so underrated still, even though it's like quite popular.
He keeps saying, I'm dialing the phone. I don't know who can be that fucked up or how they can be that retarded. He must be inbred. Are you in Kentucky?
Are you in Kentucky? See, I think that like I would like to cover the movie on its own, and then like months and months later, whatever, do like the show because it's fascinating and it makes me think of this shit. And I want to do like at the same time maybe we'll do an episode about psychic vampires because that's just if it's not real. I'm saying there's definitely fucking people that are psychic vampires that leech off of people's emotions. They want you to feel bad because they also feel bad. So, in simple manner, as was depicted in regards to the draconian gargoyle-like aliens in the movie Life Force. I have to check that out. Although this movie admittedly took this concept to the extreme, however, the concept was stolen of vital energies, giving aliens the power to shapeshift their molecular structure like those of the legendary Wur.
Was that your alien voice?
The Wur creatures. What?
Was that your alien voice coming out?
Yeah. the war creatures, I don't know what the war creatures are, did not originate from that film. Also, there is evidence that the post-mortem continuation of the emotional bodies of some people have died under extreme emotional circumstances where their emotional bodies linger around the physical areas where the traumatic death occurred as emotional shadows, imprinted on the atmosphere as ghosts or specters. These forms of emotional residue seem to also attach various types of malevolent aliens or astral forms, explaining the often numerous connections which has been found between aliens, poltergeists, and haunting episodes. The aliens involved in such scenarios may be physical, non-physical, as in many cases the Greys, malevolent non-physical entities incarnating or inhabiting physical alien bodies, where these bodies are equivalent to the biological altered reptilian or the synthetic humanoids. So I know that sounded like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it essentially means like all these energies that are around us all the time, the aliens are using to manipulate, that they could even be connected to hauntings and stuff like that, is that they're using our soul energy. This guy liked to sound like he was extremely smart, but it's just the idea that these emotional frequencies and resonancies that stick in our physical world, they vibrate throughout. So then people end up attaching themselves to the physical reality beyond this reality, and these creatures can use their energy and stuff like that. Weird shit.
Which is scary because then there's no boundaries to any of this. What was the thumbs up?
There's people popping in the chat. I was sick throughout my whole holiday, so it's shit, but this is not going to come out for weeks, so it'll be way past Christmas. Welcome to 2024, everybody!
We're in the future. Alien technology, Tom.
I know, 100%. This was fun, though. I wanted it to be something kind of like kooky and crazy, and let's dive in the whole idea of alien abductions. I want your final thoughts. I want you to express to me how you feel, what you think, because I was taking over a lot of the reins in this episode and trying to get out the information that I think is worth speaking about, and that because this will start. This is the way I do things. I love to cover our ground a bit, right? Really place those strategic markers down so then we can start moving forward on the chessboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to lay your pawns down first and then start advancing.
I mean, for me, I actually don't know where I stand. I do definitely lean more on the side of abductions being an actual thing.
Yeah.
But like you, in recent years, there was a time where I wouldn't hear any other version of anything. I would be like, nah, it's real, and that's it. I don't want to hear any other. Look, I've listened to some of the mental health aspects, the different I mentioned before, the anesthesia awareness, fucking sleep paralysis, all this shit. I don't know, there's something that just keeps harkening back for me and telling me they're just cop-out answers for things. I'm sure there was probably people who suffered with severe mental illness and multiple personality disorder and fucking schizophrenia and all that stuff that have claimed to be abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
But that you could say that about everything. There's a woman who lives in my town that everyone calls Mad Mary, and
we've talked
she's
about her.
Obviously extremely mentally ill, really bad. And it's the thing of being so she, the whole story behind her is she's been abused basically her whole life by family members and friends of the family and all shit like that. But would you not believe her now because she's clearly mentally ill that? You know what I mean? It's that thing of
well, no, there's been many there is cases of people that have been they've been molested. I think you say that, right? You can say molested.
I think that's allowed.
SA'd, sexual assaulted. They assault them, We should do that at the kitchen. We used to be I assault you. We'd throw salt on people. That block out these memories and add in an alien abduction. That has happened.
Mm-hmm. I would well believe it.
Because people do a lot when they go through traumatic events, your memory will replace I don't know. People can make up stuff in their head, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but,
and it's the same as like
I don't know.
There's a lot of people who have went through stuff like that, you know, being interfered with as kids or teens or whatever. And then, you know, when they get a bit older, especially girls, like some of them are like really promiscuous and really like I guess
because
sluttish. And I'm not saying that in like a jokey way, but you know, one would wonder if you went through all that like traumatic, like physical abuse, why you would be still putting yourself in those situations. But that's,
do you know why?
It's like, that's what your mind.
Because what's your mind? A lot of it would be, I feel like a lot of it would be the idea that that's how you got attention. You know, even especially from if you are from a bad home and then you get sexually assaulted and stuff like that by family members and no one listens to you, but then this person paid attention to you and did things to you and acted kind to you because they want something from you. And then so you go out there, like I was just talking this to someone at work, a young buck. And I said that like, I knew a chick that was like, she didn't lose her virginity till she was like 18, 19, which is pretty like, it's older. Like I was fucking 12, man. I was way too young. And it destroyed my fucking life. Did you lose it to an alien? I fucking wish, man.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
But like, and then I became more or less obsessed with sex and stuff like that. But this chick, because she didn't experience it when she was younger and she was in her 20s, she became slewing around, right? She just like, she slothed around, right? She's just like going from guy to guy. And then at that time when you're wanting to develop relationships at this point, you're just looked at as kind of like a whore, right?
Yeah,
Because now you're going from guy to guy because you have missed out on these experiences in your teenage years. I'm not saying that. I think that's probably a good age. Like 17, 18 is probably a good age to lose it. I know a lot of people that lost it when they were very young, and it's detrimental on your mental health, and people don't understand what they're doing. I've said this before. I was in a very adult relationship when I was like 13, 14, like fights, sex, all that kind of stuff, right? Try to throw myself out a window because I couldn't talk to her, like legit. Like, yeah, so like
I've done some way, like I basically made my family fly me home from New York.
Yeah.
Like mid vacation on my own.
Wow.
Like had an absolute like meltdown. And I was like, if somebody doesn't get me, I was like, if somebody doesn't get me to JFK airport and get me back to fucking Ireland ASAP, I'm going to do some like crazy, insane shit.
And this is what we're saying about the power of the brain, right? What I'm leaning towards, right? I don't care what people think. I do think there's dark entities out there. I think they exist. I think I've seen them. Are they reptilian in form? Maybe. What I saw seemed quite humanoid in that way, right? I do believe that there's all sorts of dark forces around us all the time, that it could exist in realities that I'm not even aware of. Do I think that the government is responsible for a lot of the abduction cases that we've seen brought to the mainstream media? Yeah, I'm quite sure these people are that evil where they would abduct their own citizens, put them through horrific, torturous, weird psychedelic experiences to convince them that they were abducted by aliens to push an agenda of Project Bluebeam. I do think that's possible.
I think it's a fairly like level-headed assessment of the whole thing, because it would be easy to just, like I said years ago, I would have said aliens are fucking real and they'll come and stick their tentacles up your asshole and that's what they do and it's like the movies and blah blah, and I wouldn't hear any other like version of reality. Whereas like, I think that's a bit more of like a level-headed approach of like, well, there's multiple facets to this whole conversation. It's not just as clear cut as, well, yeah, aliens abduct people or aliens don't.
Yeah. And I'm going to shout out like a buddy I know. He like says like, you know, like even like I'd like to dive into psychic phenomena at some point. But the fact that it's like your own government has done experiments into psychics and clairvoyance and stuff like that. And it's so they're convinced that there's something there. So the fact that you aren't kind of shows your intellectual level. And the fact that like your government has performed experiments on the public by like putting acid into the water. Shit like that, Edgewoods and all these things that we'll end up talking about on the show. But like, I wouldn't put it past them to stick a anal bead in your ass and convince you an alien was doing it.
Yep. You're not wrong.
So let's everybody. This is probably we're recording this in coming to the close of 2023. So it should be interesting. They'll probably be out in sometime in January or February on my side. So let me say this: look forward to us doing something on Class Horrorcast. I want everyone to go support our other show. Because we have two shows that we run, this one and then Class Horrorcast, and there's a bridge that we meet, and there's a lot of stuff we've been doing recently to bridge that gap and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun. But look out for our episode about Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. And then we're going to be doing some fun stuff. We're going to do some, I thought it was cool to call them off-brand topics, just off-brand. I started doing some stuff that's not necessarily horror, but it'd only be once in a while, but specific movies that we really want to talk about. And so everyone go check out everything on Class Horrorcast, because one of my favorite episodes so far, just because how much fun American Werewolf in London was, so much fun.
It's so ridiculous as well.
I know, but that was the point. I think that was the kind of the aspect that was kind of fun.
It was so good.
I know, and then that's where we're getting the groove of having a little more fun on both of our shows, and really getting to analyzing movies and then real theories, and actually kind of combining them together. So it's kind of interesting, because cinema and art is art a reflection of society, or society a reflection of art, whatever the fuck that saying is.
See, that's the other thing. I do think that a lot of we watch a lot of movies and things like that, and you go, I wonder where that person came up with that, or I wonder why they're doing that. And it's I don't know, I just think there's more to that whole thing, and I don't mean in the sense of a conspiracy, but I definitely do feel that there is some basis for a lot of these things that are deep-seated in our culture. I don't think it's just 100%. As clear-cut as some guy just happened to have a cool idea about a thing one time.
Sure, I've been abducted. Heck, we've all been abducted. The trick is to keep them from reading your thoughts. I wear a hat and try to remain thoughtless at all times.
I am the Dale Gribble of Strange Brew.
so good. I wish I had time to get more ones like that.
So funny. But everybody, obviously, give us 5-star rating reviews. We'd appreciate it. Spread the word. We hope to grow this show to a point where we can't even comprehend how many people we reach, and that's what we want. And the thing is, I don't care what people say, man. We're unique. We're special. I'm special. My mom tells me I'm special. No, she actually tells me I'm a piece of shit. I'm just kidding, Mom. But we are special. We are special together. We'll be special at the end of this. I don't know where the fuck I'm going off, man. I've been fucking sick. I've taken so many shots of colloidal silver, man, and iodine. And if you drink too much colloidal silver, you can turn blue. So I'm trying to avoid that.
That would have been so good for this episode.
It takes months to not to get out of your system.
Because, dude, no, you could you not be one of those dudes that would die for his craft and just drink shit tons of it? So you could have been blue on this episode.
I don't even think. I think I would need to drink it's a huge bottle, and I've already went through half of it. But it's not like I've used it over the past couple months doing this. But I think this is very diluted. If it was more potent, there's a possibility that it could turn blue. But if I drank, it's like drinking it for a straight month. It will turn you fucking blue.
Funny if you came on screen just completely blue.
What happened? And I'd be I'd play, I'm blue, dabble dee dabble die. If I was green, I would die. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with this. This is, like I said, this is just us dip. This, I picture us, right? We're holding hands, and I'm wearing a fucking sundress for some reason. And then we're walking out into the ocean, right? We're just getting our feet wet. It's funny because I'd never do that. I ain't no tranny. But we'd walk out into the sunset, right? We're just getting our feet into the water. Eventually, we're gonna be to our eyes drowning in some of these theories and stuff like that, because there's some big stuff coming that some people are really gonna like and find interesting, and some people might get mad about. But everything we do on here is just speculation. Take nothing seriously. I don't believe in anything, and I fucking mean that. I don't even know what to believe, man. The one thing I do believe is that we are the best around. Never gonna let me down. I'm the best
One thing I believe is that if you guys subscribe, rate and review the show, pick up some merch, support whatever you can, join the Patreon, whatever way you can support me and Tom, I do think that there's a possibility that you'll make Tom really, really happy. So happy, in fact, that he may actually don a sundress someday.
Yeah, I'll do it just for the fans.
If Tom can quit his everyday job and make this his whole life, then I think Tom will wear a sundress on every episode.
I'm not Kurt Cobain. I'm not going to be doing that shit. Because now people are like, Kurt Cobain was actually tranny. He was a transsexual and he just didn't want to. I was like, shut the fuck up, man. Stop making everything about you guys, okay? I hate that shit, man. I don't give a fuck who you are, what you want to believe in, what you want to wear, what you want to do. I don't care. But stop making everything gay. Why is it? It doesn't all have to be gay, okay? Calm down a bit.
Aliens are not gay, so.
No, but they definitely like getting inside assholes.
I mean,
and that could be in getting inside the skin of this guy, because I am an asshole.
Wait a sec, does that make me gay?
So everybody love everybody. Spread the word. Spread your cheeks. And take nothing seriously. Au revoir. Oh, ew, fuck. Fuck Satan.
I don't know what I done.